Andrew Tate's recent criticism of Jake Paul has stirred up a lot of controversy, but it also shines a light on a larger issue within the world of combat sports. Tate, a former kickboxing world champion, has relentlessly called out Jake Paul, accusing him of avoiding real competition. Jake, on the other hand, has built his reputation around taking on opponents who are not necessarily known for their boxing prowess, but are high-profile names that generate attention and ticket sales. From his beginnings as a YouTube star to his current career as a boxer, Jake has always thrived on spectacle. But Tate's comments suggest that it's time for Jake to prove himself against someone who can really test his abilities. Jake Paul's rise to fame in boxing has been controversial from the start. He was already a social media star before he ever laced up a pair of boxing gloves, and many of his early victories were seen as nothing more than attention-grabbing stunts. Critics pointed out that Jake was carefully selecting his opponents, picking fights with other influencers, retired athletes, and people who had limited experience in the sport. This pattern of cherry-picking opponents led many to believe that Jake was more interested in building his brand and making money than in truly competing in boxing. The challenge that Andrew Tate has laid out, however, has exposed a glaring weakness in Jake's approach to boxing. Tate, with his multiple world championships in kickboxing and a career full of tough competition, has been vocal about Jake's tendency to avoid legitimate challenges. Tate's argument is clear. Jake's boxing career is built on making headlines, not on stepping into the ring with someone who could actually pose a real threat to him. The rejection of a fight with Tate is a significant moment in Jake's career because it not only demonstrates a lack of willingness to take on a seasoned fighter, but it also highlights the gulf between Jake's public persona and his actual boxing career. Andrew Tate is not just any opponent. He is a seasoned fighter with years of professional experience in kickboxing. He has fought top-level competition and built his reputation as someone who thrives in the ring. Tate's offer to fight Jake isn't just about personal animosity, it's a challenge to Jake's whole narrative of being a disruptor in the sport. Jake has repeatedly portrayed himself as someone who is changing the game, but when faced with a true competitor in Andrew Tate, he balks. Tate's frustration with Jake is about more than just the fight itself. It's about the principle of avoiding real competition in favor of marketable matchups that make for good publicity. Jake's history of challenges that never come to fruition further adds fuel to Tate's fire. One of the most glaring examples is Jake's open challenge to Conor McGregor, which went nowhere. Jake also had a beef with UFC fighter Sean Strickland, but that too was nothing more than internet bravado. These instances serve to reinforce Tate's point that Jake is more interested in creating buzz than actually stepping into the ring with someone who could genuinely test him. While many in the combat sports world might be dismissive of Jake's antics, they also see through the carefully curated image he's built around himself. Fans are beginning to question how serious Jake actually is about his boxing career, especially when his actions speak louder than his words. Jake's upcoming fight with Mike Tyson adds another layer to this ongoing debate. Tyson is undoubtedly one of the most famous boxers in history, but at 57 years old, he is far removed from his prime. While Tyson still carries immense star power and can generate a lot of attention, the fight with Jake will feel more like an exhibition than a true test of skill. This isn't a challenge that will prove anything about Jake's abilities as a boxer, it's simply a spectacle designed to sell pay-per-views. Tate pointed out the irony of Jake fighting someone so much older than him, someone whose skills have long since declined, while avoiding a fight with someone in their prime who is willing and eager to face him. The issue here isn't just about Jake picking easy fights, it's about the message it sends to both the boxing community and the fans. Combat sports are about skill, dedication, and competition. But Jake's approach has been to prioritize fame and attention over substance. While his fights generate buzz and excitement, they also feel increasingly hollow. If Jake wants to be taken seriously as a boxer, he needs to step up and fight someone who is capable of testing him. Someone like Andrew Tate, who has the experience and skills to expose any weaknesses Jake might have. Tate has been vocal in his criticism of Jake, calling him out on his fear of taking on real competition. According to Tate, Jake's entire career has been built on avoiding challenging opponents, using PR and marketing strategies to divert attention from the fact that he's not actually fighting people who can push him to his limits. Tate's frustration is palpable, and his words have struck a chord with fans who are growing increasingly disillusioned with Jake's approach to boxing. Jake may be a skilled marketer, but his lack of real competition undermines his credibility as a boxer. Tate's challenge also serves as a reminder of the risks involved in boxing. This is a sport where athletes dedicate their lives to perfecting their craft, often with little reward. The majority of boxers struggle to make a living, and only a few reach the level of fame and financial success that Jake has achieved. But with that success comes a responsibility to respect the sport and its athletes. By picking opponents who are either past their prime or lacking in skill, Jake is, in Tate's view, dishonoring the sport of boxing. This isn't just about a fight between two men. It's about the future of the sport and whether it will remain a true competition or become nothing more than a sideshow. Jake's rejection of the fight with Andrew Tate speaks volumes about where his priorities lie. He's more interested in playing it safe and keeping up his carefully crafted public image than in taking on real challenges that could solidify his legacy as a boxer. This is where Jake's actions diverge from the image he tries to project. He talks about disrupting the sport, about changing the game, but his career is largely based on spectacle and showmanship rather than competition. Fans and critics alike are starting to notice this disconnect, and the criticism of Jake is intensifying. The criticism surrounding Jake Paul and his reluctance to face Andrew Tate is part of a larger conversation about the state of combat sports. Boxing, in particular, has often been a sport that mixes skill with entertainment, but Jake's focus on the latter has contributed to the erosion of the sport's integrity. In the past, the best boxers were those who faced the most challenging opponents. Today, however, we see more and more fighters taking the path of least resistance, picking opponents who are easy to beat and will generate the most publicity. While this might be good for business, it's not good for the sport. Andrew Tate, on the other hand, has positioned himself as someone who is willing to fight anyone anytime. He's not in it for the headlines or the money, he's in it for the competition. Tate has made it clear that he's not afraid of a challenge, and this stance has only endeared him to fans who are tired of the spectacle that boxing has become. His criticism of Jake Paul, while personal, is also a defense of boxing itself. Tate is challenging Jake's whole approach to the sport, calling out the hypocrisy of a fighter who claims to be a disruptor while avoiding legitimate competition. For Jake Paul, the clock is ticking. He can continue to chase the spotlight and pick easy opponents, but at some point, the facade will crumble. Fans want more than just flashy callouts and manufactured drama. They want to see real competition. And until Jake steps up to face a legitimate fighter like Andrew Tate, his legacy will remain as shallow as the celebrity boxing matches that helped him rise to fame. The rejection of the fight with Tate is not just a missed opportunity for Jake. It's a sign that he's not ready for the next level of competition. The public is starting to see through the carefully crafted image, and the pressure is mounting for Jake to prove himself. In the end, the battle between Jake Paul and Andrew Tate may never happen, but Tate has already won the battle of public perception. By rejecting the fight, Jake has shown that he's more interested in controlling the narrative than in competing at the highest level. As for Tate, his stance as a fighter who will take on anyone, regardless of fame or fortune, has only earned him more respect. Whether or not the fight ever takes place, the real story here is about the future of boxing and whether it will remain a sport of true competition or become just another form of entertainment. Tate's message is clear. If Jake wants to be taken seriously, he needs to start fighting like it.